You're listening to the SEO Mindset podcast. Now, we are not your typical how to do SEO podcast. No, we are not. With the help of our guests, we cover those all-important topics around career development, personal growth, and mental health for those working in the SEO industry. You got to be working on your own internal algorithm. Like what we did there. So if you like the sound of our podcast and you think this is a bit of me, shall we crack on with this week's episode? When was the last time you celebrated a win? Chances are, like me when I was asked this question, you're really having to think and you can't really remember. And this is because often when we achieve something, we move on to the next task, the next achievement, and we forget to celebrate. It's so important to celebrate wins, no matter how small. On this week's episode, me and Tasmin discuss how we celebrate our wins, reasons we don't normally celebrate, so what are the obstacles to us celebrating ourselves, and more importantly, the counter reasons why you should. So why it's really, really important. Now, make sure to stick to the end of this episode because we'll also be sharing lots of different examples and ways that you can celebrate. Now, before we get into this episode, if you like what me and Tasmin are doing with the SEO Mindset podcast, now, before we get into the episode, if you like what we're doing with the SEO Mindset podcast, don't forget to subscribe for free wherever you get your podcasts. There'll be a link in the show notes to make that super easy. And why not give us a one-off donation to support us financially, because there's costs involved in running a podcast, for the same amount of your favourite drink from your favourite coffee shop. Right, are you ready for this week's episode? I know I am, because I want to get us all celebrating. It's me, Sarah.
And it's me, Tasmin.
Tasmin, when was the last time that you celebrated a win?
Oh, yesterday evening and again today, and the same one.
This is lovely to hear because this episode is a reminder to our listeners about the importance of celebrating wins. No matter how small, no matter how inconsignificant something that has been achieved may seem to you, it's so important that we do celebrate them. And it's lovely to hear that you straight away were able to answer the question and say, I celebrated a win yesterday and this morning, because I imagine if other people got asked that question, they might be like, oh, I don't really know. Do you know what I mean?
I do, because people, don't focus on it, do they?
Well, that's what I wanted to spend the first part discussing with you, Tasmin. So I want to sort of address the common obstacles or the common reasons why people don't celebrate. And what I've got in my brain, and the reason why I haven't in the past, because I'm getting better at celebrating wins myself, is first things first, we often forget, don't we? We just don't think about it, like you've said. We don't think it's worthy enough. Could be another reason, like why am I celebrating this? Like, doesn't everyone do this? Or like, I've done it, I just need to move on to my next goal, which brings me on to my next obstacle, which is as soon as people reach an achievement, or as soon as a person reaches a goal, they're just on to the next thing, aren't they? And another thing is not being sure on who or how to celebrate. Now, I really want to urge listeners to listen to part 2 and to the end of the podcast, because we're going to give lots of reasons on how and give you some suggestions. But those are the sort of reasons that come to mind. What come to mind for you?
And so for me, culturally, as a
Good
culture,
one.
we don't. It's considered like you're blowing your own trumpet, you're boasting, which isn't considered a nice trait to have. And also, the brain is biased towards seeing the negative because we're very good at celebrating, although that's not the right word, every small thing that went wrong. We will focus on that more than focus on what went right. So there's the brain's part to play, there's upbringing, there's culture, there's perception of what celebrating your wins means, that, you're just very egotistical.
Mm. And it's really sad, isn't it? Because I'm just thinking, like, as a kid, when you're really young, um, like you get celebrated for doing lots of wonderful things, don't you? And or
Yeah.
maybe I don't know, maybe for some people, maybe they haven't had that experience, but I'm thinking from my experience as a kid, like there was a lot of people like celebrating once I've done certain stuff. And it's just sad that when we get to adult life as well, that's kind of like not seen as important, or people might feel a bit uncomfortable as well, mightn't they? They might feel uncomfortable for celebrating themselves because, like you say, like it feels egotistical. It feels like one is blowing their own trumpet. But I really want to challenge that mindset because that's a quite, not a toxic mindset, because I can see how it happens. Maybe toxic isn't the right word that I'm thinking of here, but why shouldn't, like, why is it blowing our own trumpet? Why is it egotistical?
So I think you mentioned when we are children, when a child is learning how to walk and they take that first step, and the parents and loved ones around them are clapping and saying, great
Mm,
job and well done, and that encourages the child to take another step. Ilias is potty training right now, and I can just imagine, like when he uses the potty properly, his parents saying, "You did really well there." And then as you grow up and you're getting more into the exam mode, now supposing your child has done really well in their exams, you may choose to celebrate privately, but then to go into a wider circle, whether it's friend circle or family circle, there may be others who have not achieved those same
mm.
grades. And it's about being mindful of other people's needs, which is, it's not a bad thing to be empathetic and considerate and reading the room. So there's the celebrating your wins. You don't have to celebrate them with everyone. Celebrate them with yourself, and then that egotistical element is no longer there.
Yes, definitely. And I'm also thinking, I think it also comes into play at work as well, because maybe we don't celebrate because there isn't that culture in the workplace, or there isn't that culture in the team. So maybe like that's not even discussed, or it's not a commonplace where you work. Or I'm also thinking, if you're, because a lot of our audience will be freelancers or running their own business, or they are the manager of like their SEO content marketing team. So maybe, yeah, especially if you're solo and you're a solo freelancer, it might also not come up, or come up in your brain, because who are you celebrating with, sort of thing.
I think in those instances, if you're a freelancer, if you're a founder, especially on platforms like LinkedIn, there is an encouragement that if you've, I mean, we do it when we've given a talk or we've
Mm,
done a live podcast, and we'll say, look at us, and we did this thing, and it's an element of marketing there, that the podcast is doing well, the live podcast is doing well. What people tend to do far less actually is saying, you know what, I've applied for 50 pitches and got none back, and
yeah.
there's less of that. So it's almost like the reverse. On We are building up that personal brand, focusing on all of the good stuff, all of our highlights. And people who are going through a similar journey may look at that and say, well, actually, you know what? My life doesn't look anything like that.
Hmm.
And why can't I do it? Why can't I succeed?
Yeah, yeah. So self doubt, I think you're sort of alluding to there. Um, yeah.
So I call it comparing your lowlights with somebody's highlights.
Yeah, because everyone's on the journey. Everyone's,
Yeah.
yeah, everyone's taking their own steps, or everyone's on their own journey to achieve something. Now, we've covered why people don't celebrate. Um, I want to entice people into why they should. So, here are some reasons to celebrate. You've already said a cracking one. So, if you are celebrating and you're posting on LinkedIn, it's marketing. So, that could be a reason to celebrate. But other reasons are keeps momentum and motivation. So, especially if you're working towards a big goal and you've chunked individual tasks to get there, if you celebrate those moments of you getting to that end goal, it's going to keep that lovely momentum. It's going to keep that lovely motivation. So, whatever that may look like. It also reinforces positive habits. So, I heard somewhere that your brain doesn't know the difference between a good habit and a bad habit. What your brain does pick up on is patterns. What your brain does pick up on is behavior. So if you do more regular positive behavior, like celebrating your wins, it will become habit. If you do bad behaviors or you don't celebrate, then that becomes a habit. So yeah, the idea that your brain doesn't know this is a good one, this is a bad one, or this is a naughty one, it's all about reinforcing the sort of habitual things that you do. And if those habitual things that you do can be positive, then that's going to be better. It gives you evidence of progress as well. So if this is a big one, especially if you, because not everyone needs evidence, because lots of people just enjoy the process, don't they? But maybe there's some of you who are a bit more analytical or a bit more, well, I mean, I'm talking largely to SEO people. So, you know, we are
The
data
blue
focused
crowd.
here. Yeah, we're talking to a blue crowd. So it gives you evidence of progress every time you celebrate. And then my last two is obviously your mental well-being. So the more that we're celebrating, the more that we're like working on our mental health, mental well-being, all of that lovely stuff. And it also helps you be in the present moment as well. And I think we sometimes forget about that. We forget about being in the now, being in the present, because like I said near the beginning of the episode, one of the reasons we don't celebrate is because we're moving on to the next thing. Yeah, we're moving on to the next goal. But celebrating actually helps you be present in that moment, in that achievement, in that lovely feeling of like loveliness that you get in that body of yours.
I love that. Yeah, so true. You mentioned about celebrating your wins and it keeps that momentum going. And I completely agree with you. So, supposing you are starting to learn a new skill and you don't celebrate those wins, you don't say, oh, you know, I learnt this or I practiced that or I had a go at that and it went really well. Your mind is still stuck at the point where you started your growth
Mm,
journey. So, you're not updating your internal CV. And then supposing you're called to actually deliver something in that new skill set, but because you're still at point A, where you began, that imposter syndrome starts kicking in. And you know, I don't like you talking about imposter syndrome, but you're going to start doubting yourself because you've not updated your CV, your internal CV, your own self image of self. So, but if
mm,
you do say, you know, I learned that thing and I read that chapter and I did really well in that exam, and I practiced it and it went really well, so on and so forth. You can see that you've already moved away from point A and you're
Mm.
further down that journey of growth. So when you're asked to perform that task, you go into that task with a different set of beliefs about yourself.
And what do you posted about this on LinkedIn. So instead of the ode fake it till you make it, which has negative connotations, you posted about it should be faith it to you till you make it, right?
Yeah, faith it, you make it. And with this one, I think I wrote a post about it, or I'm planning to. I can't remember now. A win a day keeps the imposter away.
Oh, I like it. So when you're having an apple a day to keep the doctor away, you can be also right. Yeah, say it again.
A win a day keeps the imposter away.
A win a day keeps the imposter away. I mean, how many more can you create of these, Tasman? Because they're just.
It's like personal development and poetry have aligned.
I love it. I love it. I'm here for it.
Um,
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a neuroscientist. I wish we had our buddy Julia to. We could do like phone a friend during our podcast when we need some expert advice. But what I'm understanding about neuroplasticity is supposing you have a go at exercise, football, and you say, "Oh, I hate football," and then you go and play again, and you say to yourself, "Oh, it's rubbish. I'm no good at this. Never do well in this game." There is a pathway that's being connected, a neural pathway, which is telling you that you hate football. Now,
Mm.
later, I mean, this could be for any skill. I'm not saying that, all SEOs must be really great at football to do their job well, because that's not true. But
I
you
was going to
can't
say,
erase
Tasman, I
that.
didn't know that you had fantastic football skills. There's just
I,
all
I,
these skills forever adding.
yeah, I do not have fantastic football skills. I don't know. I've never played football, so maybe I am a natural. Who knows? But what I'm understanding is that you can't erase that memory. You can't erase that pathway. But what you can do is write over it.
Oh,
But you're
rebuild
only
it.
go- Yeah, but you're only going to be able to do that if you then say to yourself or acknowledge that achievement. So maybe you've tried again later on in life, and said, "You know what, I was great. I scored a goal, or I tackled somebody beautifully." Can you tackle
So
someone beautifully? I'm not
uh,
sure.
I'm sure,
Why did I pick football of all things that I know nothing about? But you get the gist.
but so like one. Tash would probably say that you can tackle beautifully, but what I'm thinking of for an example more relevant to our audience, I mean, like you said, we could have football players here, but
I'll
let's.
I'll give you I'll give you an example. I've got one.
Okay,
I've
go
got
on
a
then.
proper one, right? When I was promoted to being a manager, I had to give a talk every month in the canteen about the data, and we had some KPIs, and I dreaded it because I told myself I was no good at doing this. I can't do public speaking. I can't even present to 5 people, and I kept on saying that to myself. So guess what? I believed I couldn't do it. But then I learned actually not only could I do it, but I enjoyed doing it. And the more I told myself I enjoyed doing it, and the bigger and bigger crowds I could speak in front of,
Mm.
now it's like such a buzz.
And I suppose, like, because speaking skills or communicating skills are so important, and not just for people who want to, I don't know, go on a podcast or present at Brighton SEO or whatever conference. Communication and speaking skills are so important in internal meetings,
Yeah.
meetings with your clients, meetings with stakeholders, communicating that all important information about what you're working on, projects, all of that is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And the more you can say to yourself, "Oh, I handled that conversation really well. That conversation could have been tricky, but I managed to negotiate really well there." And
Nice.
it's not about, jumping up in the air and blowing up balloons or anything. It is acknowledging to yourself that you did well in that task.
Well, it's funny that you should say about jumping up and down with some balloons, because we are going to take a short break, and when we come back, Tasman's going to be jumping up and no, she's not going to be jumping up and down. When we come back for part 2, we're going to give you lots of different ways of how you can celebrate. So hopefully, to this point of the episode, we've got you really thinking, do you know what? Tasman and Sarah are speaking them truths. I am going to start celebrating my wins. Why would I not? So we're going to take that short break. And when we come back for part 2, get your notepad or pen and paper at the ready to jot down all of our wonderful ways that you can celebrate. Would you like to say anything else before I bring us to our break?
No, I'm looking forward to part 2.
Okay, hopefully you won't be out of breath from blowing up all those balloons. Join us for part 2.
Hi, Tasman here. Are you looking to take your career to the next level? Be more visible, earn more, but also take care of your well-being and have work-life harmony? Well, I can help you because I'm offering you a free 30-minute consultancy call. Together, we can go through where you want to be and how to get there. Simply click in the link on the link in the show notes, fill in a form, and I'll get back to you.
Sarah here, and I hope you don't mind if I quickly borrow you. Are you enjoying the podcast? Do you like what me and Tasman are doing? If yes, why not support us? For the same price as a Starbucks, Costa, or your favourite local coffee shop coffee, you can give us a one-off tip or a monthly donation. If you fancy doing that, follow the link in the show notes. You can also follow us on social media. We're on LinkedIn and Instagram. Just search the SEO Mindset podcast and let us know how we're doing. Connect with us, chat to us, and also get more tips and advice.
So, Tasman, balloons at the ready?
No, I have a very sober, simple way of celebrating, which I will share in a mo.
Lovely, lovely. Yes. So, as we said before breaking for this part, I need to think of an easier way of saying that. But yes, we've got lots of ways that we can celebrate wins because we know that it's important. So I'm going to get cracking. Tasman, as always, interject, whatever, add value, all those nuggets. So my first tip is make sure that you acknowledge it, right? So acknowledge what you have achieved. Acknowledge that win so you can acknowledge it for yourself. Now, what I would recommend doing is actually writing it down, because I think sometimes when you write something down, it makes it more real and it gets it out your brain. Now, you could just be writing it down for yourself, and that's absolutely fine. But you could also write it down and share it somewhere. You could share it over social media, which we've already said is good for marketing, especially if you're working on your personal brand. My next point is sharing with someone who cares and will big you up. So we did a live podcast with our good friend Jack, and in collaboration with Search with Canada, and we were talking about your social health and how important it is to career development and all of that lovely growth. So, and part of that is being really aware of who surrounds you and who lifts you up, who bigs you up. And this is another example of why that's important, because if you know who those people are, if you know who your cheerleaders are, when you've done a win, especially one that you're proud of, if you know who you can go to, who's going to be like, you nailed that, Sarah, well done, of course you did. Like, that's only going to do good for yourself, your well-being, your brain, your heart, your neuroplasticity, however you say that word. So yes, share it with someone who cares. Take a pause. A pause? Did I say that word wrong? A pause. A pause.
A pause.
A pause.
Yes.
I had a bit of a moment there. Take a pause before running to the next thing. So I've already said that one of the reasons why we don't celebrate is because we're just going on to the next thing. So how we do celebrate is taking a pause. So after you've done that win, take a breath, take a seat. Yeah. You don't need to get jumping into your next thing, but use this time to reflect. Reflection. So I've already said about acknowledging it and writing it down. So maybe you could also journal about it as well, because that will give you a chance to reflect and ask yourself, okay, during this achievement, what did I learn about myself? What did I enjoy about the process? What could I have done differently next time? How does this help to get me to this goal, sort of thing? So having time to pause and reflect will also make sure that you're celebrating, because in doing that, you've got lots of moments where you can celebrate the different parts of the process of getting that win or getting that achievement. And then my last 2 points is your win jar. So I think I got this idea from you, Tasmin, because you speak about your win jar. So this is about having something visual. So have a clear jar and grab some colourful post-it notes. Every time you've done something, jot it down, fold up your post-it note and pop it into that jar. Over a period of time, you will see this jar being filled up of all these beautiful, colourful wins that you have done. So it'll be a nice visual representation. But at any time, you can just, pop into the jar, open up a post-it note and see what you've achieved in all of these different wins, because there'll be things in there that you'll forget about. And then my last thing is do something to mark it. Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily have to be with someone else. And I would probably encourage you to do more stuff on your own, because I think it does us good being able to celebrate stuff solo, because then we're not so reliant on other people, self-reliance. But if you want to celebrate with other people, that's fine. But do something that you know you enjoy, or do something that's a little bit of a treat for yourself. What would be a treat for you, Tasmin, if you've done something that you're proud of?
Oh, I like going out for brunch. I think brunch is my favourite meal to go out for.
Oh, so you'd be taking yourself out for a lovely little brunch.
I think, when I said that the way I celebrate my wins is a very tame. It is journaling. I will journal about it. I will reflect on it, appreciate it, practice gratitude over it, and then I will periodically have reflection time. End of each month, definitely at the end of the year. I've taken a group of people through their end of year reflections. So it's really looking into the past, because so often, as you said, we're just steamrolling to the future. Look at the past, be grateful for what you've achieved, because it's not just about the win, it's about that opportunity that you were given. And the more you can be acknowledging the gratitude and practicing gratitude over those wins, the more opportunities you are going to get, for sure. And what it also does is that it gives you that sense of safeness, that things are fine, things are good. And when you feel safe, you're more likely to take a different risk or take a different action and step out of your comfort zone. And then it just becomes this cyclical thing.
That's a lovely way. Oh, I love that word, cyclical. Um, and I just thought as well that so in the first part of this episode, we said about reasons to celebrate will help keep momentum and motivation. And actually, in all these different ways that we've shared of how to celebrate, that reinforces the momentum and the motivation, because your brain will be, oh, I want that feeling again. I want that lovely, wholesome, I can do this. Doesn't always have to be a physical treat, does it? Doesn't always have to be going out for brunch. I do love a brunch. I love a toasty, I have to say. But it's about like looking after your noggin as well, isn't it?
Yeah. And, just going for a lovely walk, just being outside, as I've said many a time before, stepping into my garden and listening to the birds chirp away, one of my favourite things to do these days.
Did you tell me this fact? My brain is just popping up these facts that I'm attaining from different people. But someone told me, and it might be you, but birds don't sing if they're sad.
Or scared. If
Or
they think that
scared.
they're going to be pounced on, they're not going to break out into this bird song, are they? It's only when they feel safe that they will sing. That's what I heard. Again, I'm not David Attenborough. What do I know?
But that just makes going out listening to birdsong even more special, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it's
Because,
so
yeah.
calming. I do notice that the energy is different. It's beautiful.
So, I mean, I think we've covered everything. Is there anything else that we can be doing to celebrate?
I think when you were talking about children and how we celebrate them, and then somewhere along the line we stop doing it. So the concept of a win jar, it's a really good practice to have if you have young ones at home. It's coming up to Christmas. You could make a win jar with them, activity stroke present giving. But I read something somewhere recently. There was a father who had a practice with his children, and they all went on to do really, really well. Every evening, they would write down things that had happened that day, what they had tried, what had gone well, what hadn't gotten well, what their wins were, what their using the F word again, what their failures were. Um, and there was no judgment. It wasn't like, yay, you did really well, or boo, you did really badly. It was just self reflection. And what happened was that they got more and more used to doing that process and learnt so much from it.
So, as you were sharing that, I just thought of what we could be doing in the workplaces. So, if you're in a team or you're employed, most of us are communicating on Slack, Teams, some sort of chatting software. What you could do, and if you're a boss or manage a team, you could implement this, or if you are an employee, maybe you could suggest this to your manager. But maybe you could have Friday reflections, and every Friday people have to post something that they're proud of, so something that they've won, something that challenged them, and what they're looking to work on next week.
Yeah. And if when you were talking about Slack and Arige's community, Women in Tech, there's a channel for Wednesday motivations where you can celebrate your Wednesday wins. I know that in my group coaching, we start off with what's been your win this week. So it's setting up almost like frameworks or processes or structures where you have a formal way of celebrating.
You could do it with your partner as well, couldn't you?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm just thinking, me and Tash, for example, on when we're enjoying our Friday dinner and whatever that is, and we're having our little chit chat, maybe we can get into a routine of Friday reflection as well with each other.
Yeah, yeah. Go for it.
And also, I'm just thinking, if you are freelance, this is where it is super important. So maybe you're thinking, okay, but I'm not part of a team. This is where like a community like Women in Tech is so important to be part of, because you can share it there. Or can you create a community? Like, do you know other freelancers, or do you know other friends, or who have you got around you that you could create a WhatsApp chat, and every Friday you do your reflections? So there's lots of ways of doing it, especially nowadays, because there's lots of ways that we can communicate.
100%, friend circles, freelance circles, community spaces. There's lots of platforms that you can do it on.
Or just do it with yourself. I might do it with Benny the dog. I imagine if I asked Benny the dog, what were your wins this week? Well, I found some great fox poo to roll in, and I smell proper good. Would be one.
Sure, go ahead.
Tasmin tried football and found that she actually was a natural.
I'm going to take an educated guess and say no. Not for me. Don't even like watching the thing.
So, Tasmin, I'm going to put us both on the spot here, because I'm going to bring this podcast episode to the end. But let's do as we say, and let's both celebrate a win with each other and our listeners that happened today.
Okay.
Would you like to go first?
So I'm gonna go with the one that happened yesterday, because it was super important to me. For the last few years, I've wanted to merge my knowledge of personal development with my desire to help my community and the centre. So I pitched to them that could we run a few goal setting workshops, but coming up to the month of Ramadan. So we would set goals for the month of fasting, because it's not just about being hungry and refraining from food. It's all about spiritually cleansing and becoming a better person, all of that good stuff. And the sheikh at the mosque, who is so wonderful, like so wonderful. Do you know what I said to him the other day? Like, when your brain and your mouth just aren't engaged. He's a young lad, and I said, I really want to be like you when I grow up. He looked at me saying, do you know how old you are? He didn't say it, it's too polite. But what I meant was spiritually. Anyway, so he and I are going to be running 3 workshops, one in December, one in Jan, and one in Feb. And it's all going to be about setting your intentions, planning your goals, creating your habits, reflecting on what you want to achieve. So by the time the month arrives, people are going to be spiritually uplifted, and they're going to have all of the tools and resources they need for it to be a fantastic month.
I love it. I absolutely love that. My win is I finally did something today that I have been meaning to do for a couple of days or a week or two, and that is to communicate to all clients about so I've said to myself this year I want to take 2 weeks off over Christmas, over the holiday period. So I am making that happen. I've communicated with all my clients when I'm going to be taking holiday, so when I will and will not be available. And I also made sure that everything is organized. So everything that I need to get done will get done by the time I want to leave. So I'm proud of myself, because that was a lot of admin and a lot of like figuring out and looking at deadlines and what needed to be done. So yeah, I've actually done that. And it's also good for myself, because I'm actually going to take 2 weeks off over Christmas. So that's my win.
Congratulations. That's really good. It's making me remember I need to do something similar.
I bet you a lot of people listening to this podcast might be like, oh yes, I probably need to tell my clients or my team or all of that lovely stuff. So yeah.
Yep.
But it does take, like, even though it takes time, you will, like, now I feel a bit smug because I'm like, well, I've done it now and I can take all of this holiday and have a lovely time off.
You haven't told me.
Well, this is me telling you. Well, you're not a client.
Listeners, I didn't get the memo. I'm her partner.
See,
I was trying
okay.
to work right through Christmas and New Year. I had a podcast episode scheduled for us to record on Christmas Day because I thought,
So this is where I'm going to be honest now. This is where I've got weak boundaries because the stuff that I do with you, Tasman, I don't see as work. So that is why. So I'd probably, if you did want to record during the holiday period, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it, Tasman. What, like, this is fun.
Right, Christmas Day, straight after the King's speech.
Oh, funny. Right. Dear. So that is us. So hopefully everyone is infused and wanting to celebrate their wins. You know all the reasons why, and you've got lots of different ideas of how to do it. Tasman, what episode have you got coming up for us?
I'm going to be talking about the 6 human needs that SEOs need to understand to be able to optimize their career.
Fabulous. So make sure that you follow, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, because every time an episode goes live, you will get pinged, you'll get notified. There'll be a link in the show notes to do that. In the meantime, we talked about difficult conversations during this conversation, and I had a fabulous conversation with Loretta about how to have difficult conversations. So I will pop a link to that episode in the show notes so you can all go and check that out. And I believe that is everything, Tasman. So we just need to say... what have I forgotten?
One more thing.
Yes.
So if you're enjoying what Sarah and I are doing and you're finding all of this podcast information really useful, we have created a set of resources that are really going to help you and your career growth in 2026. So there'll be a link in the show notes. Go and have a look at that page. Pick the one that suits you best and really harness the opportunity of 2026 and your career progression.
Fabulous. Yes, do that. All right. Now we can say goodbye, take care of yourselves, and until next time.
Goodbye, take care of yourselves, and until next time.